In this slideshow, we're going to discuss the constitutional origins of Congress. We will cover Congress in the Constitution, Congress and electoral politics, who serves in Congress, and the basic problems of legislative organization. There are several takeaways from this lesson. First, the House and the Senate have most of the national policymaking power, though the President does have some power to dictate policy. Second, over a span of decades, congressional parties have become more polarized. This means that the Republican Party has become more conservative and the Democratic Party has become more liberal. Third, electoral politics influence almost everything members of Congress do. Fourth, the power of leaders in Congress depends on how unified their party is. Think about this in terms of what has been going on recently in the Republican Party. Speaker Boehner stepped down from his leadership role after struggling for years to achieve policy goals because of opposition from members of his own party. Fifth, rules and organizational structure impact policymaking. Mechanisms such as the power to veto make legislation easy to stop, while other rules involving supermajority votes in the Senate make legislation hard to pass. The framers of the Constitution created a bicameral system with a lower house, the House of Representatives, and an upper house, the Senate. The House is elected every 2 years to keep its members beholden to the will of the people. Originally, the Senate was chosen by state legislatures to serve terms of 6 years. Now they are directly elected by the people. These 6-year terms make the Senate more stable and more likely to take action based on what they believe is right and not just popular. In this way, the Senate acts as a counterweight to the House. Members of Congress must reside in the state that they represent, but do not necessarily have to reside in the district they represent. Although the Articles of Confederation had re-election restrictions, the Constitution does not. The Constitution established a truly national government by giving Congress broad power over crucial economic matters. The Necessary and Proper Clause, also known as the Elastic Clause, gives lawmakers authority over many different spheres of policy. The Constitution gives Congress significant authority over foreign affairs, including the power to fund the military, declare war, and ratify treaties. Additionally, the Senate has the power to confirm nominees to federal courts and top executive branch positions. Unlike the parliamentary system, members of Congress and the President are elected separately. Members of Congress are elected from states and districts by a plurality vote, which means that whoever gets the most votes, not necessarily a majority, wins. Primary elections are used by each party to select a candidate to represent the party in the general election. The map featured on this slide shows the congressional districts of Ohio. As you can see, they are not equal in geographic representation, nor are they square. Rules for drawing district lines require similar population size and continuous districts, but in practice, many districts are drawn to give an advantage to one party over the other. Currently, I live in District 9, which stretches along Lake Erie and connects the east side of Toledo with the west side of Cleveland. Some argue that this district is gerrymandered, a practice discussed on the next slide. District 9 is commonly referred to as the snake on the lake. Originally, the House of Representatives grew with population. New members were added to represent every additional 33,000 people. In the early 20th century, Congress voted to fix the number of House members at 435. Instead of simply adding seats by population across states, now seats shift from state to state. The states draw their own congressional districts, which sometimes leads to gerrymandering, which is the practice of creating safe seats for a party. A political party in control of the state legislature will draw the district lines to give their national party the greatest advantage. This slide shows how seats in the House have shifted from state to state. In 1950, Ohio had 23 seats in the House of Representatives. Today, Ohio only has 16. Winning election is not the only objective of members of Congress. However, it is the primary objective because they cannot achieve their other goals without being elected to office. Members also care about the success of their party. More members from their party occupying seats in Congress make it easier for the party to achieve their collective policy goals. Elections can be thought of as either party-centered or candidate-centered. In the 19th century, elections were very party-centered. People voted based on party platform. However, changes in laws regulating elections and parties have weakened parties and encouraged ticket splitting, the practice of voting for members of different parties for different offices. Party lines weakened as New Deal era politics faded. New issues like civil rights and the Vietnam War blurred party lines and encouraged candidate-centered electoral politics over party-centered. In recent years, there has been some evidence that elections are becoming party-centered again as the news media treats local elections and congressional elections as national events. In the midterm elections, which are elections that take place in non-presidential election years, the president's party almost always loses seats in the House and the Senate. One exception to this was in 2002 when the Republican Party gained seats in Congress following September 11th. As a general rule, members of Congress are more popular than the institution as a whole. This means that people like their congressperson, but often dislike other members of Congress and wish they would be voted out. Of course, citizens can only vote for their own representatives. This helps explain why Congress can have a very low approval rating, yet a very high percentage of members get reelected each election cycle. Earmarks are items individual members routinely insert into spending bills or revenue bills, providing special benefits to their states, districts, and campaign contributors. House Republicans recently adopted rules restricting earmarks. Though politically popular, this move may contribute to the recent gridlock in Congress because members are less likely to vote in favor of legislation when they do not see the benefit for their district, state, or contributors. The people serving in Congress are not representative of America in a demographic sense. More than half of the members of Congress have law degrees. Women and racial minorities are underrepresented, though less so now than in the past. Congress continues to be white male dominated. Take a moment to consider the possible consequences of having a Congress that does not represent the country demographically. In this slideshow, we covered the constitutional origins of Congress and electoral politics. In the next slideshow, we will cover congressional organization and making laws.